It is almost impossible to understand how the Beatles became the biggest band in the world without acknowledging the tension that existed beneath their success. John Lennon and Paul McCartney were musical partners, close friends, rivals, and at times something much more complicated than any of those labels could explain. Their relationship was built on extraordinary creativity, but also on competition. And when two songwriters as gifted as Lennon and McCartney worked side by side, admiration and jealousy were never always far apart. They could write together, challenge each other, inspire each other, and then, almost without warning, turn against one another. That was the strange reality of Lennon and McCartney. There was genuine affection between them, but there was also anger, resentment, and an intense need to prove themselves. In many ways, they were like brothers. The very closeness that made their partnership so powerful also gave them the ability to hurt one another more deeply than almost anyone else could. And John Lennon, for all his brilliance, was not always generous when it came to Paul McCartney. Lennon could be cutting, he could be dismissive, he could turn a compliment into an insult with a single sentence, but occasionally, beneath the sarcasm, there was something Lennon could not hide. He knew exactly how talented McCartney was. That became clear when he spoke about All My Loving. All My Loving is Paul, I regret to say, because it's a damn fine piece of work, but I play a pretty mean guitar in back, Lennon said during an interview in 1980. It was classic Lennon. Even when admitting that McCartney had written a great song, he could not resist adding a reminder of his own contribution. Yes, All My Loving was Paul's song. Yes, it was a damn fine piece of work. But Lennon still wanted the listener to remember that he was playing the guitar behind it. The joke, however, may have revealed more than Lennon intended. By the time he made those comments, the Beatles had been over for nearly a decade. The group that had once conquered the world had ended in bitterness, and Lennon and McCartney had spent years building separate lives and careers. Yet, the Beatles never truly disappeared from either man's story. For Lennon especially, the shadow of McCartney remained impossible to escape. Their partnership had shaped his life, his career, and his understanding of what it meant to write music. Even after the band had broken apart, the comparison between the two of them never completely ended. Who was the better songwriter? Who had written the stronger songs? Who had contributed more to the Beatles? Those questions were never simply about music. They were tied to pride, identity, and the complicated history the two men shared. That is why All My Loving was never really just about one song. The track represented something larger, the endless creative competition between Lennon and McCartney. Paul could write a song that Lennon admired, but that admiration could also serve as a reminder of the rivalry between them. Perhaps Lennon was not literally jealous of All My Loving, but McCartney's ability to produce songs that were instantly melodic, emotionally direct, and commercially powerful was something Lennon could never completely ignore. And perhaps that was what made their partnership so extraordinary. Lennon pushed McCartney. McCartney pushed Lennon. Each man's success became a challenge to the other. Even when they were no longer working together, the competition continued in the background. So when Lennon called All My Loving a damn fine piece of work, it was more than a simple compliment. It was one of those rare moments when he seemed willing to admit that Paul McCartney had written something he could not dismiss. Of course, Lennon still had to remind everyone that he played a pretty mean guitar on the track. Because with John Lennon and Paul McCartney, even praise could sound like a competition. And perhaps that was the secret of the Beatles all along. They did not simply inspire one another, they challenged one another. And sometimes the person you most admired was also the person you most desperately wanted to beat.